Welcome to the Legacy Solutions Podcast, where we discuss the principles of mindset, management, and maintenance, and how each plays a pivotal role in building your life, your family, and your business. Thanks for joining in on the conversation with your host, Darnisha.
Family, welcome back to another episode of Legacy Solutions Podcast. And this week we have brought back a special guest, and it's Miss Natasha Harris. Natasha, how are you?
Hello. I am well. Just kind of winding down and finishing dinner plans kind of thing with the family, but good otherwise.
That's
what
good.
About you? How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. It's funny. We're like texting back and forth, and it's like funny or interesting, stressful, whatever, like just trying to balance like mom, wife, boss, like you're always like doing something.
It is. So a lot of people are like, hey, how do you balance it? It's like, I don't balance it because there's never going to be an actual perfect balance. It's more of a harmony and a flow to all of it that just works for you and how you're wired. And it took some time to establish that. And then like the ages of my kids are changing, I'm changing. So it has to get readjusted all the time. So it definitely requires flexibility.
That's good. I love that. There's no balance. It's just a harmony, because sometimes, kids may get a little bit more attention than the husband, and then, so forth. So that's, it's a never ending process, this journey of just trying to get it right, make sure they're clothed, fed, alive, educated, and decent human beings. So God help us.
Right. Alive is the key word. And then the second line is decent human beings, right? I tell my kids all the time, like, look, I'm not trying to raise terrible people here.
Right.
Just be a good person. Like, you could be lazy, but as long as your heart's right, like you can work on your laziness, but that character part is the foundation.
What? It sure is. I always think about with my son, I'm like, listen, I'm raising somebody's husband one day. So like we're not doing this. Okay. We're going to get it together.
She's not about to be mad at me. No.
Right. Come back and be like, look what your son did. No, not over here. Not my son.
Right. At that point, you need to pull out like one of those, like the old school projector screens and map out, pull it down and be like, no, look, this is how he was raised. Everything you see or he doesn't do are his choices that went against what he was taught. So I did my part.
That is it right there. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna make a checklist and I'm gonna save that thing. Definitely gonna save it. So we even get to like what we're talking about. But Natasha, if you can just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do. This week's podcast is just chill. We're just going to talk. I spoke to and met Natasha. We were co-authors on an amazing project, Tax Strategies for Small Business. If you have not gotten the book, you have to do that. It's full of valuable information that can help you on your journey to establish, build, grow your business. And so definitely check it out. But we met during this project. We did another interview talking about the book, and just speaking with her, I fell in love. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to bring you back to talk about the other things that you do, because she has an amazing story and it touched my heart in the few minutes that I met her. So I know for sure that she'll have something of benefit for you. That was a lot.
Yeah, it's always a lot. Okay. Because yeah, my story is a lot to unpack, because as I've said before, I was homeless for the third time about 16 years ago, and that journey alone, the time of that homeless season was about a year, and all the people that I thought that were saying, oh, let us help you, et cetera, didn't actually provide the help I was thinking, right? So out of that season of homelessness, I'm thinking I could stay at one parent, and then 2 months later, they're like, hey, you need to get out. I'm like, wait a minute, what? I've got a 7-month-old. But now I'm I'm a CFO and tax strategist in my own firm, Victory Finances. And then I also have the Faith Goal CFO, which is a creative speaking and content marketing firm that helps companies kind of build inclusive type programs as far as financial literacy or women empowerment, or even just a few programs that could offer their diverse group of employees what they need to be better employees.
What made you start that part of the business?
I think it was all the things that I started noticing in Victory Finances with what was being asked by my client base, and that it was no longer fitting in my tax and accounting firm, right? Because it's just tax and accounting and some advisory with the CFO portion. But then like, hey, with some of the people coming to me saying, hey, can you mentor me? Can I have help in this area? Or I'm getting into financial services and there's nobody in the arena that looks like me. How do I navigate these situations even? So that's how it came about. And then just the call and charge on my heart that I've been through a lot of what was being asked, and how do I turn those pieces of my journey to help others going through their journey.
I was just going to ask you about the homelessness that you dealt with. Do you feel like that played a major role in your desire to help empower women in their journey?
It did. And I actually had one of those light bulb moments with one of my kids, because I was getting a little frustrated with his entitlement, right? Because teenagers do that. Mm-hmm. But I told him, I said, honestly, what you see and what you're experiencing is a result of me deciding back then to never be homeless or struggle like this again, ever. So as a single mom during that time, it was rough. Like, yeah, I went through government assistance program. Yeah, I did, food stamps, TANF, whatever you want to call it, WIC, all of that to provide something during that time as I was trying to better myself. Because what I realized was missing during that time was a different version of me that I'd experienced before. Right. So I'll kind of unpack that a little bit. So back when I was 16, in a season when it wasn't so bad, I had experienced Mexico with a friend. I'd experienced Las Vegas, getting paid on a nanny trip. I'd experienced, like fun fact, I used to be a part of a motorcycle gang, not gang in a sense of gang, but a group.
Gang. Okay.
My kids joke all the time, like, Mom, you were such a criminal, like, but it was like Fast and Furious style, what I was involved in, right? So I was that flag girl in illegal street races and stuff like that. But
no, oh man, there's always
so
something.
They're like, Mom, what? So yeah, there was like a life of adventure and experiences that I'd had before that I was like, man, sleeping on this 2-inch mat with my newborn, where is that Natasha at? I know she's here somewhere. So I kind of set out on a journey to find her again.
Oh, that's so powerful. And I love how you talk about your past experience. Well, for one, you're not ashamed of it, right? And I think one key to that is sometimes people are ashamed of their past because a part of them or all of them is still back in that place, right? So they're holding on to the shame or the guilt or whatever they've dealt with in the past. It's really empowering how you take your story, how you take your message, and how you're empowering other women. The fact that we talk about our kids a lot. And so one thing that's important is you mentioned the entitlement. And so do you find that there's this struggle where you're just like, I went through this or I went through that, but at the same time giving a good life, but making sure that they're comfortable or certain perks or benefits? Like, how do you balance that? How does that work with you?
So I think it's more of having my children understand why I'm working towards what I'm working towards. And even in faith goal, right? So with our clients, we take a holistic approach to really what is your vision of your life. Everybody wants to have a vision of this or a vision of that, but when you look at what are you really building with you, um, to achieve some of the things you're trying to achieve. And right, so understanding that my root of me was to never be homeless again, never to experience that again. So then having experienced adventure before, I wanted to experience that again. And I've always felt that exposure is the biggest um, teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So even with my kids, when they are feeling entitled or trying to battle or give them an understanding, because they're still kids, right? I tell them all the time, like, you're only living in mom and dad's dream right now,
Wow.
not a result of your own dreams and visions of what you're trying to achieve and accomplish, right? So it reminds me, I tell them all the time, kind of, this is your Garden of Eden right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm gonna officially kick you out like Adam and Eve got kicked out, but it's easy for you right now.
You get one chance.
Yeah. But it's easy right now. So I really want you to learn and take heed to what we're trying to teach you. Like, I get you don't like doing the dishes. I said, but dishes are practice for when you have your own dishes to do. I said, as much as you might think you're going to have some girlfriend or somebody's going to do it for you. No, boo. That's not how life works. Nobody's going to save you when life hits you hard. And because I've experienced that hard, that rock bottom, that space, as much as I wanted somebody to save me, nobody was coming for me.
Wow.
Nobody was coming to save Natasha in her space.
Now,
So it's like I had to save me.
go ahead, sorry. So now what is it that like helps you get through that time? Did you find God in that moment? Was it after? Like what helped you push past what you were experiencing during that season of homelessness?
So one, I held on to what I'd experienced before. And then I did know deep down with my actions and lifestyle, God was missing. So I went on a mission to find him as well.
Mm, that's important. One thing that you mentioned, you said that one of the things, the root of you was to never be homelessness. You never wanted to go back to that. Now, I think about myself. I had my daughter, my oldest daughter. I was in high school, had her when I was 18. And I found myself, not anymore, but I realized that I was parenting her from this place of fear, right? I was being overprotective and super critical or judgmental and really like overbearing at certain phases of her life because I was afraid that she would do what I did and make decisions that I make. And so as a parent, thank God, my eyes were open to it, because if I had kept going that route, I literally feel like that would have just pushed her in that same path. And so
Right.
that was something that was major and eye-opening for me in my parenting journey with my kids or with my daughter. And I, pray that I can still hold on to that and implement that with my other children as they get to that age.
Yeah. And I think just having that openness about who you were with your kids, so they have that understanding, mommy has been through this and this, so that's shifted how I maneuver. I would hate for you to go through that, but I understand if you do as a result of your decisions, because it comes a point where our children are no longer guided by our decisions and that we can do what's best for them. They start making choices that they start thinking are best for them. So knowing, in a sense, they're passing through, but I hope and pray that while they were in my home, I was able to equip them with the tools they would need to build their own life later.
Now, we've talked about how your experience has affected you with like your children and raising them. What about in business? How has your experience, not just the homelessness, but just moving past that, how does that help you, or how it helped you when it comes to your business and even how you empower other women?
I think it's it comes from a sympathy and empathy in those spaces, knowing what I had to unpack in those times, and maybe this is how I unpack. So maybe it could help you. Not telling you, because some people don't want to unpack themselves to be better in a sense. But did I think it was going to turn into a business? No, not at all. What I also recognized is that I was running my house as a business and didn't realize it.
Is that a good thing or was it a bad thing for you?
It was an interesting way of looking at it, right? Because when you run a business, you understand you need to be profitable.
Mm-hmm.
So I think taking the aspect of profitability and growth towards, my family as my team, and we're in this together, and we want our family to grow, has been a good thing so far. And sometimes you have challenging team members, like my teenager, but the concept of team is something I want to instill in their character, because we cannot do this life alone. Even in that season of homelessness, my high school counselor helped me ship out everything I could pack in the box of a pack and play to get me out of the situation that I was in.
Wow. So you had key people to help you.
Yeah. So just hoping and establishing and leading by example, with the openness of saying, hey, this was where I was at. This is where I am now. I'm continuing to grow within myself, and I hope you see and do the same. But yeah, the exposures to adventures in life are going to stay with them. So if they ever hit a rock bottom place, or end up homeless themselves, or end up in jail, not that that's what I want for my children, they have instilled in them that there's more than this for me.
That's important.
Now, how do I get back there?
That's important. I love how you talked about being profitable, the profitability factor, and not just in business, but like how does that translate into family, right? If you're running your family like a business, then that means that you're having staff meetings, right? Family meetings, even with your spouse, you're discussing your finances, looking over these things and then making decisions based off of your situation. And where a lot of families, I think, especially spouses, get into trouble is that there's two different units, right? It's me and then there's you, especially when it comes to money or even when it comes to decision making. I'm making this decision, you deal with the consequence. And so if you're running your family like a business, then there's that cohesiveness or that sense of team. And so that's really important. I never thought of it that way, but I really, really think that's important.
Yeah. And I only recognized it as I was, running my businesses like the way I do. It's like, oh snap, that's what I've been doing. I've been running businesses for 16 years. Didn't even realize it. It was just my household.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. It's really, really good. Now, when like in your journey, well, actually, let's back up. So with the women that you work with, how do you help them, whether it's in family or business or mentoring, as far as, starting their own tax and accounting firm? How do you help other women?
So that is definitely a variable answer, because it's going to depend on the woman. Some women only want up to a degree, right? Because there's still a belief system within them they're unpacking. And others kind of want to go full on, or, rock this out. And I always say, I'm looking for some friends, because it gets lonely on this entrepreneurial journey. And if you I love my family, I love my husband, do not get me wrong, but there are just those girlfriend moments that you just want to experience them with. And then my heart wants everybody to win as well. But the hardest part with helping or empowering women is if they actually want it for themselves, because it is a lot to unpack, because you have other things that impact it, you can have that codependency on their children and things like that. So not a lot of women want to actually build a business while doing the kid stuff. It's like, I'll wait till my kids are older. But what I've understood is one of my children are passing through. At the end of the day, it's you. And if you're married, it's you and your husband.
That's true.
Even before the kids, it was you.
That's true. And I think it's important not to make decisions just based off of the kids or, even the spouse. God forbid if you were to get a divorce, you lived your entire life as, if I've lived my entire life or most of my life as Perry's wife, if something were to happen, you were to go home to be with the Lord, or I'm not even gonna say the D word because it ain't happening, but if there was something were to happen, then it's possible for me to not have any identity outside of the marriage or outside of the children, because everything is reliant upon those two.
Yeah. So some of the first steps in how we help our clients is understanding what you want. You specifically, not you and your husband, not you and your kids. What is it you actually want? And some of those things start out small, like, or I want to start momcations once a year. Okay, that is a time where you take yourself out and away from your family for a weekend or a week, whatever you want to do. And then sometimes it's, beyond that. Or I want to be the ultimate something expert in my industry, or I want to be, just, it's going to depend on what they realize.
Do you find that some women don't even know? Like, I'm thinking of someone in particular. I remember having conversations with them and another person. It's like, what do you want? What do you want to do? And all they know is what they don't want. Like, I don't want a bike. Okay, so what do you want? I don't know. I don't want a bike. So it's like, how do you get past that point where you know what you don't want, but you don't know what you do want?
So I think it could be never coming past that point, right? Because if the list of don'ts is longer than the list of do's, there's only trying everything. Does that make sense? Because if you know you don't want a bike, I don't want a bike. So the next thing from there would be a, I don't know, let's say elliptical or a treadmill. No, right? So you keep kind of passing through and trying things to get what does stick to you and say, hey, this is me. That's
good. And I noticed that even in business, because initially I started off in my business one way, thinking that this is what I wanted. But then as I grew, dealt with certain people in certain situations, I realized more and more like, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. And so that happens on every level. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, that's it. It is one of those things, because I've got a longer don't do list than I do a do list. So I get that, but it's a progressive thing. You have to just keep trying.
And as women, I think we're always growing and evolving, not just women, as humans in general, right? We should always be growing and becoming a different, better version of ourselves. So what I may want today is not necessarily the same thing that I will want tomorrow. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's just I've grown, or I've gotten to a different level.
Yeah. And I don't think we understand so much the levels to it, right? Because spirit recognizes spirit, energy recognizes energy, and sometimes there's a polarization that starts to happen if you are so far up a level and try to go back. It's just going to agitate you. And I hear agitation's a key person on God's payroll to move you from where you're at to where you need to be.
I think that's rejection's cousin. I was just talking to my husband about it. It was like rejection, but look at rejection like it's a bad thing. The devil's doing it, but sometimes God's using that thing to push you along to where you need to go. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So
Like, you don't belong here. So I need you to move from that, right? Bunch of no's, right? Till you get the open door.
right. We'll stay in that same place unless agitation, rejection, aggravation, whatever, all these little things start to come in to move us along. So anything
Mm-hmm.
you want to share, any words of wisdom, any advice that you want to give to the women? We just kind of hit the ground running. And so anything in closing that you would like to share for a woman who's looking to kind of find her place in life and in business?
I'd really say, if you're kind of struggling to unpack that by yourself, it always helps to have someone that's a phone call away, or just a quick conversation with somebody who you might uh, think is where you want to be, because mentorship, even in the women's circle, is so hard to find. Um, Especially for us being in financial services and male dominant industries, they hit you with what they refer to as the glass ceiling. So if you're looking to either shatter the glass ceiling or move around it and hit, the sky's the limit type level, definitely seek out some women mentor groups, or people in the arena that you'd wanna kind of learn from, and understand that the investment isn't so much with that person, it's in yourself, because of the value that it's going to add along your journey of unpacking you. I mean, if I really put a dollar sign to what I've invested in myself over the past 16 years, it'd probably be close to $500,000.
Wow. But it's worth it, right?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely worth
Look
$500,000.
at
Matter of
you.
fact, right? Like, you cannot put a price tag on this. Like, no, worth far more than rubies.
That's right. Thank you so much, Natasha. It was a pleasure. How can people get in contact with you if they're looking to find more about your mentorship programs, or how you can help them if they're looking to, I don't know, find their place, get to the next level, whatever it is that they may need? How can you help them?
Yeah, so we've got the Faith Goal CFO on Facebook. And then we also have our Women's Financially Flourish group. It is a private group, but if you say you heard me on Legacy Consulting Podcast, we will let you in the group.
I'm the plug, y'all. So
Right. Tanisha's the plug.
all right. Thank you so much, Natasha. Again, it was a pleasure. And we'll definitely have to do this again, follow up another conversation, because I got a list of questions that we didn't even get to. So
All right. I'm here.
Appreciate you, family. Join us again next week. I hope you're able to gain something from this week's podcast. Love you, and I will see you all next time.
Yes, thanks, guys. We'll see you.